In this video, I'm going to sort of walk you through the process that we used in class to make a scatter plot, and then show you how you can make a bivariate scatter plot, which examines the relationship between two numeric variables, into a multivariate analysis tool by adding a third variable that is categorical. You can also make bubble plots, which Excel will happily let you do if you have a third variable that is also numeric, but boy, the relationship with that third variable has to be very clear for those bubble plots to be readable. So at this point, I'm going to leave that out, but I encourage you to explore them if you're curious. So as we've done with the other projects, first thing we do is add a sheet and bring across the data we need. In this case, I'm going to bring state, and what I want to explore is the relationship, or the possible relationship, between the unemployment rate in a state and education levels in that state, the bachelor's degree attainment. I'm also going to bring our third variable. I want to see if income taxes play a role in that relationship. So our question here is, does a state with no income tax have a clearer link between education and unemployment or not? I don't know what we're going to find. We might not find anything. The point here is to explore building the tools. So let's do that. Typically with a scatter plot, Excel will make the scatter plot for you if you highlight the columns you're interested in. Let me strongly advise, especially for those who are on a Mac, you have to make sure that the outcome variable, the thing you are trying to explain, goes on the right, and the thing that does the explaining, the independent or predictor variable, goes on the left. So in this case, I need to move bachelor's degrees to the left of unemployment because I'm arguing that bachelor's degree attainment explains unemployment levels. This way, if I highlight these two columns, B and C, in this order, and I insert a scatter plot, Excel knows to put unemployment on the Y and bachelor's degrees on the X. Mac especially, the Mac version of Excel is really finicky about this. So this is another reason to copy your data onto another spreadsheet when building your scatter plots. So here we have the scatter plot. I mean, other than, let's say, zooming in the axes, let's save that for after we get the colors on here. So let's delete this. Okay, so what we're really interested in is looking at this relationship both overall and within the two categories of whether or not a state has an income tax. So we need to sort this data so that we can easily access the subsets. Make sure the check mark is in my data has headers, and then sort the data by the no income tax dummy. We can now see the rows have been reordered. The states with no income tax are now separate from those with an income tax. We can now insert our blank scatter plot. We click on the scatter plot to get to the chart tools, access design, and select our data. We now want to add two different series to this data. The first, and so you know, the series name is what will go in the legend to identify these particular points. So first, let's add income tax states. On the x-axis, we want to bring in all of the, we're using bachelor's degrees, right? So we want to bring in all the bachelor's, click and drag, bachelor's data for all the rows in which no income tax is 0, which means a state has an income tax. And then hit enter. And the Y is the unemployment. This is the thing we're trying to explain. So in this case, we click and drag across all of the unemployment rows for the same set of states where no income tax is 0. So now we can click OK out of that. And you can see it is now plotted. These are just the states that have an income tax. It has plugged that in as the title. We'll worry about that later. Now we want to go back into the select data option. And we're going to add a second series of information. This one will be the no income tax states. So we select our X values, but only where no income tax is 1. And in this case, it's bachelor's degrees. And our Y values are unemployment. And we can hit OK twice, and now you can see it's given us orange dots and blue dots. Add in the titles, chart title, and the legend so that you can see what those colors represent. And we're getting a long way towards what we need here. Let's make a few adjustments to make this easier to read. We're going to get rid of these grid lines, both the horizontal and vertical grid lines. We are going to zoom the axes in. The data is all on the right side of the plot, which means you have all this empty space that tells us nothing. This is not ideal. So if you click on the axis and then right click, Format Axis should be the bottom option. This will open up the Format Axis options, and here you see the bounds, minimum 0, maximum 50. Minimum 0, maximum 50. I'm happy with the 50 at this point, but let's plug in, let's say, 15 instead of 0. That's nice. Here, I'm also happy with 7 on the y-axis, so I'm going to click over here, and you can see this jumps to the 0 to 7. But we definitely don't need information here. There's nothing here. So we'll go up to about 2. This can be a experimental process. That looks pretty good. So now we've zoomed in on the actual data. We have increased the ratio of ink to data, which is always a good thing, especially according to Edward Tufte. Now let's see. I won't go through the trouble of labeling the axes, labeling the chart. You know how to do that. We've done that a lot in class. What I would like to do is make these no income tax states stand out more. This orange dot, especially if I was printing in black and white, really wouldn't show up very well. So if I click this once, it will select all of those. I can then right click and format the data series. Now, I'm not going to lie, these options are not super intuitive in Excel, so this might take some clicking on our part. The bucket is typically where you adjust what the dot or lines look like. So in this case, there is no line, and we don't want a line connecting these points. We want to go into the marker, which is the name for the dot. The marker options, you can see it's currently a circle, so let's change the shape in the built-ins to a triangle, and let's increase the size a bit. Yeah, that's nice. Now the no income tax states really stand out. Let's also adjust the fill, which is the color that it's filling it in. Let's go with something sort of bright red. So now we can see, boy, those no income tax states using both color and shape really stand out. And it helps us to see there might be two different trends going on here, or two different relationships. So there might be something to this idea that eliminating your income tax changes the way bachelor's degrees and unemployment relate. It might not. We're not up to regression yet. For our purposes, I hope this helps you see how you can build a scatter plot, build it in pieces so that you can then adjust different series for colors, shapes to accommodate a third variable.